Today, we've got on the show the former CEO of Helium 10, who's now the CEO of Avask, the leading company in the world for tax and compliance for Amazon sellers. We're going to talk on a wide variety of topics, including new Amazon incentives for some marketplaces, how sellers can help their profitability, and even Serbian basketball. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Want to enter in an Amazon keyword and then within seconds get up to thousands of potentially related keywords that you could research? Then you need Magnet by Helium 10. For more information, go to h10.me/magnet. Magnet works in most Amazon marketplaces, including USA, Mexico, Australia, Germany, UK, India, and much more. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed, organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. So we have got somebody who is no stranger to the show. He's been on the podcast multiple times, former CTO and CEO of Helium 10, now current CEO of Avask. Bojan, welcome back.
Thank you, Bradley. It's good to be back. It's always great to have a conversation with you and on Serious Seller Podcast even better.
And especially you now have this Walter White Heisenberg era look to you. You got the goatee and shaved head. It's a little bit different look than when you had here at Helium 10. I like it. You got that Avask gear. I've got some Avask gear. I got this Real Madrid jersey. For those who are watching this on YouTube, a Real Madrid Avask jersey that I got at our workshop. So let's just talk about that real quick. You know, we've been doing these workshops over there together, Avask and Helium 10 in Europe for the first time. We did one in Germany near the Avask office, and then we did another one in Spain. And so, like, what's been the feedback as far as these events that we've been doing?
And there's excitement internally and externally. You were there, obviously, and I met people who woke up at 3 a.m. and then drove for 4 hours to meet you. So the level of excitement that you generate around the world is astonishing. Like I was familiar with that, but always impressed to see the level of excitement, the commitment that people have and are ready to make to exchange experiences with you. So that was great. Feedback was positive all across the board. So sellers that attended, they're saying that this kind of experience, this kind of focused content that is not beginner content, the sort of content that allows you to move your business beyond sort of proof of concept, beyond the early stages, is something that is missing or was missing. There are opportunities to learn things wherever you are, obviously, internet being global, etc. But interacting in person, networking with other sellers that are in similar kind of stage, that's a value that's really hard to reproduce. And Europe, so fragmentation in Europe led to sort of lack of organized events like that. So the two events that we ran together, but very well received. There's a lot of demand for the next one. So I know we have something planned out.Maybe we don't want to share at the moment, but there's another one coming soon. So before the end of the year, be ready to join us again in nice destinations. So we have something ready for you.
Yeah. So if you're in Europe, actually, you don't have to be in Europe. There was somebody who went to the Germany one who flew from South Africa. I don't know if you met that gentleman, but he flew from South Africa to go to the event. So, but obviously, if you're in Europe, you're like a 40 euro Ryanair flight away from wherever we're going to have our next workshops. Make sure to join. Now, real quick, I'm wearing this soccer jersey. I'm wearing my MLS, actually LA Galaxy hat here. So, Bojan is a sports fan too. That was a close game between Serbia and the United States in basketball. I thought Serbia was gonna take it, but there's a lot of maybe disappointed people from your home country.
Just for you, sir, I'm wearing a jersey as well.
The Helium 10, you got the Helium 10. I love it. He just did a Superman, opening up his shirt right there. I love it.
so split allegiances, and that's sort of how here. I got Helium 10 and the Avask Cup.
I love it. I love it.
So saying that the game yesterday, Serbia, US, these are heartbreak because like deep down, I'm rooting for Serbia, obviously, and I have no expectations whatsoever. I hope to not be blown out after losing 2 games within 2 weeks by 26. So I was like, okay, hopefully it's not embarrassment. And then first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, like, yeah, I know things will turn around. But when the result was like 75-63, like I actually allowed myself to start hoping that things might end up the way I would like them to end up. And then you have Katie and Booker score 2 threes within like 3 seconds, and it goes from 11 to 5, and the game kind of falls apart. It's like, man. But that's the sort of the beauty of being a fan of small nation or underdog team. You lose a lot of times, and you sort of learn to find happiness in small successes. And then from time to time, there'll be a big win.
Yeah.
And you really enjoy that. Like,
makes it that much sweeter. Yep. That's why I'm a Clippers fan. I'm still waiting for that big moment. But switching gears, kind of on a personal note like this too. But I think it's something that's important for entrepreneurs out there. Like I get this question a lot. I'm not sure if you get it a lot, but you're going to get it today. But people ask me sometimes. They say, "Hey, Bradley, you've got a family. I don't have small kids anymore. They're kind of old, but they still live at home. And how do you manage it when you're traveling so much for business? And now you are working for a company based in UK, and I know you're going around, and you've got offices all over the world too, and you're probably traveling, I would assume, more than you did when you were at Helium 10. What is it, and there's entrepreneurs out there like, hey, I need to spend a month in my factory in China, or I need to go to these conferences and stuff. Like, how do entrepreneurs, what advice can you give them about juggling family life with travel? How do you make it work?
I tried everything I could think of, and like I tried sort of commingling these two and sort of bringing my family along. Like even this summer, I spent 3 months in Europe visiting different offices and trying to combine that with family time. And what I learned over years is that it doesn't really work out. Like, so if you're trying to split your attention between work and family, and God forbid you have sort of personal hobbies, you're most likely going to end up frustrating everyone. So like I would be frustrated by not being present for the family where I want to be present for the family, and also not being on top of my game professionally. What I would recommend is sort of accepting that there is a difference between your personal time and your professional time, and being present for the topic that requires attention at the moment. So when you're doing something for you personally, then try to create a big enough box where you can fully focus and enjoy that time and be there for your family, and do that for yourself. When you focus on work, try to focus on work, and it's non-trivial. I would assume that sort of failure rate for marriages that entrepreneurs will have probably second to military families. It's non-trivial for sure. But my recommendation would be accept that there are sacrifices that need to be made on both sides, and start from there. Like, make sure that you're maximizing the value of time that you do have, and you can spend with a family.
Let's talk some strategies and things that are going on in the e-commerce world. You've got now a new kind of maybe perspective on things. Obviously, working here at Helium 10, you could see a lot, but now, you're a little bit more on the, accounting and regulations and things like that side. I think that the top of thing on Amazon sellers in the USA right now, in mind, is like profitability, especially this year. I mean, obviously everybody should be worried about profitability, but when I say that, it's like, hey, no, they're worried about it's going down because of all these new fees. Like, what are you seeing? Obviously you have customers in Europe, you've got customers in US. Are there any trends? Like, do you see profitability going down amongst American sellers, or more worry on that side? Is it the same worries that Europeans sellers are facing? What's the kind of like state of affairs as far as profitability goes amongst Amazon sellers that you have dealings with?
So you've been in industry longer than I have. So I don't remember since 2016, since I sort of started operating in this space. I don't remember a year where dominant sentiment was, oh, this year is better than the last year. It's always like, hey, it's harder than it was last year, and it's fair to assume that next year will be more difficult than this year. So it depends on who you ask, depends on where you look. So there are challenges. There are always new challenges. But what I'm seeing in the US is maturing of the market. So 5 years ago, 10 years ago, Amazon was still in sort of explosive growth mode in the US. So Amazon was growing in terms of GMV, so more money being moved to the platform. Amazon was growing in terms of customer count. But today, when you look at number of Prime subscribers, it's like 180 million in the US. They're not making that many more people in the US. So that's already fairly saturated market. Going back to history, Amazon US, you had a handful of categories. 15, 20 years ago, Jeff Bezos was sort of gloating about the ability to expand beyond books and being successful in electronics category. So as Amazon grew over the last 10, 15 years in the US, growth of Amazon drove growth of individual sellers. So you essentially had to find a niche, find an opportunity, and sort of continue to grow with Amazon. What you're seeing now is sort of slowdown in that kind of growth that you experienced over the last 10, 15 years. And every industry has similar kind of trajectory. Google advertising, similar kind of stuff happened there. It's natural that the margins will be compressed for most. There might be sellers that are finding ways to keep their margins protected based on the IP or sort of unique positionings that they have, or just a brand investment that they're making. But US is challenging, and I don't expect that to change much. Now, Amazon is still growing in the US, and when you look at the share of third-party sales, that's growing in the US. So someone is making money. It's possible that the growth of seller base is sort of, for maybe the first time ever, is outstripping the growth of the market as it is in the US. Amazon, on the other hand, essentially fully saturated the market. So they don't have strong incentives to invest in expanding seller base. As they bring on new categories, if they're expanding more into food or fast fashion, or they're expanding into drugs, yes, there will be incentives, but those incentives will be more localized now than ever before. You have a maturing of their advertising platform. So when the new advertising product comes online, when they start pushing ads through TikTok, there will be an window of opportunity. But first mover advantage is valid for only so long. So US, I can feel the squeeze. Your customers, my customers, sellers. It's real. It's your margin compression is real, and people are trying to figure out how to keep that margin positive. So there will be winners, there will be losers. Winners will be survivors. So as the kind of picture clears out, as successful mid-sized, larger brands sort of survive the squeeze, there'll be less competition for them. What I'm seeing in Europe is still the sort of 2015, 2016, 2017 Amazon. So Amazon is growing, and bulk of the growth, Amazon as a corporation, is actually happening in Europe, and it's growing in large established countries. So Amazon still has material growth in countries like Germany, France, UK, where they've been present for more than a decade. But they're also bringing on new wealthy markets to Amazon. So I'm not sure if you heard about that, but Sweden became part of sort of pan-EU program now, so you can store goods in Sweden, which makes it more affordable, less expensive to distribute to Nordic countries, Norway, Finland, Denmark. But Amazon is actually actively investing in bringing sellers to that market, because they need a selection. So what used to be mantra in the US is that's now happening in Europe. And while in the US fees are going up and new fees are being levied, in Sweden, for example, Amazon is covering the cost of compliance, but there is fixed cost for compliance. Amazon is covering cost of compliance for a certain amount of time, and they're lowering FBA fees by 50% for a year. So it's a sort of limited time promotion. It's not open to everyone, but that's the kind of investment that Amazon is making in Europe. They used to make the same kind of investment or similar kind of investment in the US, but that's no longer the case. As you think about expansion, as you think about growing your business, there are essentially 4 ways to grow your business. One is product innovation. So whatever your product portfolio looks like today, you have to continue innovating. So that's must do. Right? If you stop innovating, if you start bringing new products to market, your growth will turn negative. Like it applies to Nike, it applies to someone who just started in business. You can grow by spending more money on acquiring customers, which is essentially Amazon advertising in our sense. But marginal value is being squeezed there as well. So that, especially in the US, that's pretty saturated. So you can product innovation must do regardless where you are. Buying more eyeballs through spending on advertising, getting more and more expensive, so marginal return diminishing. You can go into new channels. You can expand into new channels in your existing market. So if you're in the US, you will go D2C, or you'll go to Walmart, or you'll go to Chewy, or Home Depot, whatever the category is. there you're sort of betting that Amazon will shrink. So it's more like insurance. If Walmart manages to take some of Amazon's market shares, Amazon will be shrinking, Walmart will be expanding, so you will expand. So you're placing that bet that someone will win and take over Amazon's market share. So when you go through those three, option number 4 is geo expansion. So it is non-trivial. So you have to be ready to make an investment. There's fixed cost associated with geographic expansion, but tools allow you to automate and offset some of those costs or minimize the cost. Localizing listings. I'm not sure if Helium 10 has the tool, but I believe that there are capabilities that would allow you to programmatically localize your listing to German and Dutch and whatnot with high degree of quality. It's like Pareto rule. You get 80% of value for 20% of effort. So once you satisfied all those essential needs, it becomes pretty good growth opportunity. But if you want to grow, if you want to take advantage of this marginal opportunity and sort of be agile, because that's what small businesses have, like ability to adjust in a moment, as opposed to large businesses that have long-term plans, like lack of flexibility. So leverage your agility to take advantage of new opportunities. And geo expansion into a market that has sort of similar purchasing profile as one in the US, there's no brainer.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of the stuff you mentioned there that maybe, can be considered a little bit of the sexy side of things, like expanding to new marketplaces, and, localizing your listings and optimizing this and that. But then, at Avask, there's a lot of non-sexy stuff too, because, most people don't think accounting and taxes and all that stuff. I'm just curious, like, is there any, like when you onboard a new client or something, are you anecdotally seeing something where it's like, oh my goodness, you've been reporting this way, you're wasting a lot of money, or what, you're not putting this and making it a business expense, or hey, you're double paying this tax, you don't need to pay this, like are there things like that you see that maybe you can tell sellers about that maybe haven't gone to you yet and they're maybe losing money because of it? So
I do my own personal taxes still, because I'm too lazy to keep track of all the expenses in a way that would allow an accountant to do taxes for me. So I'm sort of scrambling at the end of the year, at the end of the period to do taxes. And I know that I leave a lot of money on the table by doing that. Same thing happens in this industry. So there are two ways where you can lose. There are obvious two ways where you can lose money. One is you're just making poor business decisions and moving goods in Europe while it's sort of automated. So especially if you're selling through Amazon, Amazon will take care of logistics for you the same way it does in the US. So you don't have to think about finding people that will pick and pack. So Amazon takes care of all of that. But how do you bring goods into Europe can have dramatic impact on your cash flow. You could import goods into Amazon's network through France, Netherlands, Germany, Spain, Italy. And it's like on the surface, everything feels the same, but then there are various tax schemes that will impact not necessarily how much you pay, but it will impact when you pay. So think having to prepay your taxes based on estimated earnings for a year versus holding off until you actually sell goods and then you pay taxes based on sales as opposed to based on import. So I would say don't go through Germany. Like get to Germany by going through France or Netherlands. That's the recipe for success. Don't go through Italy and Spain unless you're incorporated in Italy and Spain, because local governments can be not very forthcoming if there's money that they owe you. Like if there's money that you owe them, they will be very agile. But if they owe you some money, it's like mañana, come back next year. Right? So that's one way to lose money or overspend money on compliance is by just making poor, uninformed business decisions. Another one is not having sophisticated enough provider, and that's another thing that you're seeing a lot, because for a lot of businesses, this growth is compliance is part of, as you said, not very sexy, not very exciting things, and it's usually handled by professionals that are competent in their lane. Think accountant that handles your tax, corporate taxes and whatnot, but they don't necessarily have the experience with international taxations and rules. So we very often have things or have instances where not due to lack of desire, but more like lack of skill, our clients have been overpaying or not reclaiming what they were supposed to reclaim.
It's funny because, I've had Melanie, from Avask and others on before, and I have a general understanding of what you do. But then somebody just this week was asking me like, hey, I'm trying to, I want to expand to Europe and I'm not sure about the regulations. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe hit up Avask. But then I'm like, I'm not, I know they can handle VAT things and help you with some compliance. But as far as like setting up corporations, like maybe you have to go to somebody, like I'm not 100% sure of what Avask does. It was kind of like, I worked so much with you guys. I'm like, it was kind of an embarrassing moment for me. But then, so I have you on here now, 2 days later. What is it exactly like? Like who should be thinking about, using Avask? I mean, it's a no brainer to me. Like, hey, somebody who's confused about VAT and somebody who needs an accountant service. Of course I know that, but like I'm an Amazon seller in X country. At what point, or like who is Avask right for, in other words?
Businesses expanding into Europe, businesses that are trading across Europe. So there's marketing side of needs, sort of like what Helium 10 supports and what Helium 10 addresses. So what is sizing the opportunity and then creating all the collateral that's needed to address the opportunity. What's the size of this niche in Spain? Like, should I get into this or not? And if I decide to do it, like, what does it mean to get into this niche in Spain, creating listing, thinking about advertising? So that's where Helium 10 fits in. Now, how that really happens, how do you make it past the regulatory hurdles that every government will put in front of you? That's where Avask comes in. So yes, we can help with incorporation, and we can help give you an advice, like, does it make sense for you to incorporate or not? So there's this advisory component that you're happy to provide. The core focus for the business is around regulatory compliance, and you don't want to hear everything that happens there. There's tax compliance, and then there's eco compliance. So now, if you sell goods, like you live in California, when you buy bottled water, you pay a recycling fee. Mm-hmm. In Europe, that is seller's responsibility. So if you're selling goods in Europe, you as a seller, you're responsible for end of life care for that product. So let's say you're selling battery operated shaver in Germany. You have to think about packaging. So eventually that packaging will have to be disposed of. You have to think about electronic components. Electronic components have to be disposed of. And you have to think about batteries. If you include batteries with your product, and I recommend you do, because that has to be disposed of. So and in Germany, there are 3 different bodies that regulate this. So taking care of batteries is separate from taking care of electronic components, is separate from taking care of packaging. Some countries have even more category. When you go to France, it's like, there's a lot, like textile and plastics and this and that. So that has nothing to do with corporate taxes and sales tax. And that is essentially sales tax and wrapped in the final cost of the product. But you still need to do it, otherwise you would not be able to sell. So what Avask does is take care of that compliance requirement without you having to do more than register. There is it's like going to the doctor for inoculation. So if you get a jab, there's a little bit of pain, and then you're done with it. So it's a similar thing here. We will help you, walk you, guide you through registration process. Once you're done with that process, we take care of it. That environmental customs, so just movement of goods. If you make a mistake, if you misdeclare, if you import into wrong port, customs duties could be pretty expensive. Customs fees could be expensive. If you have goods that have a limited shelf life, obviously they could go bad and it could be in trouble. So these are 3 main buckets: tax compliance, environmental compliance, and then cross-border movement of goods compliance. Not sexy, and I don't recommend, like, it's non-differentiated knowledge. If I'm a seller, I don't benefit from understanding all of this. Like I learned about it because it's needed in order to support businesses. But as a seller, I would not waste my time dealing with this. Like as a seller, I'm looking at new opportunities. I'm trying to understand the needs of the market. I'm trying to understand sourcing. So all of this can make me more successful in my business. If I can find goods at 10% lower cost in wherever I'm sourcing, that's great. That's better margin. If I can improve conversion rate by optimizing my listing, that's great margin. If I spend hours doing some administrative work and then hopefully I don't get in trouble by forgetting to check a box, like best case scenario, I am where I was. Worst case scenario, I'm in a deep hole because I made a mistake. So it's a long answer, but compliance, so operational compliance in European countries. We have sales tax team in the US as well. So for businesses who meet criteria, reporting criteria in the US, let's say you're selling D2C or you're selling large enough volume, you also have to report sales tax in the US. So we have that capability as well. So bulk of the focus at the moment is in Europe.
And then, speaking of some North American and European things, there's an announcement we gave on the Weekly Buzz where now there's some new digital service fees that you're going to have to pay if you're like a Spain-based seller selling in US or vice versa. So make sure you guys know about some of those. Just in general, you have a lot of sellers you work with. You mentioned Amazon Sweden before, but what other Amazon marketplaces are you seeing people expand to most lately? Maybe some of the more off the wall ones. I'm not talking about, obviously there's always going to be a lot of people expanding to Amazon Germany or France, but like in my circles, I've heard a lot more than before from Amazon Saudi Arabia, for one. And then, people I heard Amazon Australia is finally growing a little bit. It was so slow for a while. And then more people thinking about Japan, but there's plenty of other newer marketplaces. Do you have anything that sticks out or pretty much all business as normal the last year or so?
Nothing major. You have anecdotal evidence for various marketplaces like Dutch and Belgium. Apparently there's something happening there where in certain categories, sellers are finding success, but our core focus is Europe. We're seeing anecdotal evidence, but that might not be particularly relevant for your audience. Like those might be sort of huge brands that have name recognition that they're leveraging and extracting value, as opposed to trying to build new presence. Like Kim Kardashian trying to monetize her name in Australia. Much easier than if you need to establish your brand. So. Nothing, no kind of nuggets sitting there beyond Sweden and that sort of Nordic region where investments are. You have off Amazon. You have this sort of belt in Central Europe, so like Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, but that also requires sort of expansion beyond Amazon. So there are others. You have Allegro that owns. Pretty much dominates that market, that sliver, which is a sizable market, like $15 to $20 billion. But I would not recommend exploring that until you mastered European markets in general. And if you're an Amazon seller, that's where you would go. You can start with Amazon and ride the growth of Amazon. Like huge positive things, developments happening in terms of market growth in Europe for Amazon. I would just piggyback on that.
So, you and I were talking, before, something I hadn't heard of because I don't sell in Europe. I don't deal with too many European sellers here in the States, but I believe that there was like one pretty large company that was helping hundreds, if not thousands of sellers in Europe with some of their tax and compliance, like is trying to step away from the Amazon game. So can you elaborate on that and what those sellers need to know?
It's a huge company. It's one of those companies that are not well known to consumers or smaller businesses, but large businesses who recognize name. Avalara is a company that provides sales tax calculation software in the US. Pretty much any company calculating sales tax in the US will use Avalara in some form on the back end. So you don't see it, but when they say, hey, in this zip code it's 775 and that one over there is 7875, that most likely comes from Avalara. Used to be a private company, went public, got bought by Vista Capital, potentially taken private again. So possibly due to sort of optimization of their balance sheet, they left or they're leaving, and it's not a secret. Like they made it public. Both Avalara and Amazon communicate that to larger audience. Avalara is leaving the market at the end of Q3. and they will stop providing bad support for sellers in Europe at the end of that quarter. So through the end of Q3, you're fine. After that, if you're selling in Europe, you will need different service provider. You can try to do it yourself. I'm not saying it's impossible, just not recommended. There are a few other providers in the space. Avalara is sort of a big name because they're first Amazon partner in this space. So if you started selling in Europe when they were initially pushing pan-EU and European expansion in 2016, 17, 18, you were most likely using Avalara for that, even if you were not aware of that. Like, so you're interacting with Amazon, but on the back end, Avalara is actually providing services to you. They're getting out. You didn't hear about it. On the other hand, in my world, that seems to be the only thing people talk about. So it's probably somewhere in the middle. Like somewhere it's noise, somewhere it's signal. It can be very stressful for businesses, but obviously Avask is one company that provides alternative to that, and the transition is pretty seamless. Starting with this can be painful. Getting registrations in place, etc., used to be pretty challenging and painful. Now it's much easier because we have providers like Avask, and also process of transitioning from one provider to another is not as painful as starting from scratch is. So if you're a seller selling in Europe, then you have to pay taxes, obviously, and you might be impacted by this, but I don't want that level of stress to be particularly high, especially considering that you're getting into sort of Prime Day or whatever is like prime selling, so Prime Day number 2, and then holidays. Tax stuff will be taken care of. You just need to make a selection. You need to go to Amazon and sort of select who will be handling your account. So could be me, happy to help, but we're not the only provider there.
Anyways, good segue of what I do at the end of episodes. Anyways, if anybody wants to, get more information from Avask or reach out, one way that you can do it is just go to hub.helium10.com. You type in Avask and you'll be able to contact them right from within the Helium 10 portal here. You can go to avaskgroup.com. How can people find you? Like, are you active on LinkedIn, or where you, how can they reach you out there?
LinkedIn is the best way to get a hold of me. I don't have a Facebook account. I actually spent a few minutes earlier today looking at my Facebook account, specifically some conversation on Helium 10 Elite. Someone remembered that you co-hosted the AMA with Matt Benton.
Yeah. I did a little trivia there. Those are the old days, and that correct answer was Matt Benton, of who I used to co-host AMAs with like 6 years ago, and only one person got it right, and that person won a free ticket to Amazon Accelerate.
$600 worth of value there. So that trivia paid off. But Avask.com. Avask.com will work, or Helium 10 portal, but Avask.com is easier to remember. And for me personally, find on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect.
Do you have any last 30-second strategy or 60-second strategy for us? It could be about the best Serbian food, or best places to eat in the UK, since you've spent a lot of time there. Accounting. It could be about Amazon software. You've got a lot of expertise, so go ahead and knock it out, whatever you want to talk about. UK is wonderful. June through early September. So if you're going to visit, like it's great country, great place, great area to visit during summer. If you spend more time there, September through May, you will understand why they built all those ships and conquered the world. And I thought that was original when I said this, but then I was told that's a meme. So not sure how valuable this is. But like, beautiful country, great people, but weather not so June great. Through August. That's okay. Yeah. All right. Good to know, because I've been putting off my trip over there. I haven't been back since before COVID. So now I know when I can go. Well, Bojan, it's been great to have you back on the shows. Great to see you in person at these recent events, and everybody else out there. Like we said, look forward to perhaps another announcement of another event that we're going to do. Maybe October, maybe November. Not sure when, but be looking out for that announcement, and you can hang out with us and we can talk Serbian sports. Don't talk about Serbian soccer. That was a very not great performance this year. It's a sore point for Bojan there, but we'll talk about Serbian basketball, because that's always a positive one to talk about.